Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Well, anything we need to catch up on, or do you want to get on into...
Catch up on? No need, I don't think. I've processed some of the last one that we did and still checking in with the little kid from before, and all seems well with her. And yeah, still holding on the one we did last time. I don't know if you remember these or not, because I know you do lots and lots of them.
Yes.
But yeah, it's going well. I think those last two sessions have been really helpful and insightful for me, especially the one with the wee one.
Yeah. Remind me about the age of that wee one.
Well, when we were doing the session, the face kept changing to different ages. Mm-hmm. But as it turns out now, as we drive around in our muscle car, I think she's 3 or 4. 4, I think.
Right. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Would you like to start with a minute of quiet meditation, and then I'll ask you about parts that you'd like to work with today?
Okay.
Okay, I'll set a timer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the eye-rolling skeptic.
Mm-hmm.
How do you notice that part in or around your body?
Not unsurprisingly, in the back of my eyes, mm-hmm. Which is often a spot where things hang out. But yeah, it's just there in the eyes, and just kind of an overall sort of hardened exterior kind of feeling on the front, especially. Mm-hmm. Hard front.
Okay. And right now, as you notice it there, how do you feel towards it?
I wanted to say that I felt curious, and I do, but there's also this mm-hmm. sort of squirming, wanting to wriggle free of that feeling sort of calcified, like there's a part of me that's like wanting to squirm out of that feeling of being constricted.
So the eye rolling part is what's kind of giving you that feeling of constricted. Is that right?
When I think of it, what I think of is like hardened exterior.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's something that wants to struggle against that kind of hard shell.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
From inside.
Yeah. Well, you can just let that squirming part know that you're here and that you just like to get to know this other part.
I seem to have a hard time doing that without like trying to sell it. Like maybe it'll, like maybe it'll soften and like, instead of just being more neutral about like, we're just getting to know it. Like I'm telling the squirming part, like, hey, if you, we might get to, do what you want or something.
Well, I don't know that there's anything wrong with that. I mean,
okay, cool.
We are getting to know parts for a reason. I mean, we do want to make the relationship easier.
Mm-hmm. I just felt kind of like agenda having for a second there. Okay.
Just see if it has. Just see if it will. If it will get you space and let you go forward.
Yeah. Yeah. The squirming is good now.
Great. Okay. So now how are you feeling towards the eye rolling part?
The word compassion isn't quite right, but it's something in that family like, oh man, that must be tough there, to feel that. That way.
Okay. Well, whatever emotion that is, you can just let it know that you have that for it. Let it know that you have some curiosity for it. Yeah. Just invite it to speak with you and ask what it wants you to know.
It's just saying like, I'm very tense.
Yeah.
It's saying I'm here for a reason.
Right.
Just basically like sort of arms crossed kind of feeling.
Yeah. And I imagine there are other parts that have wanted it to not be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can let it know that you see that. And that you've asked those parts for some space. And that you want to know more about the tension that it's dealing with.
There's something about like embarrassment that of how sort of wholeheartedly it was me and a group of close people to me that did this other that did not. It's like the part of saying like that was embarrassing, that like how wholeheartedly bought into this thing in the past, and that this is, I feel like it's acknowledging that it's not the same flavor. It's not the same vibe, but it's got this thing about just kind of getting lumped in with people of varying levels of, integrity. The word keeps coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Does that all make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Just let it know that makes sense to you. Just see what else it wants you to know about that. What else it wants to show you about its role in that.
Just like the messages are interesting. It's like talking about that other part, the dust alien. Like, this is just my little pet. Like, I'm the real force. I'm the real naysayer. I'm the one who's really keeping you, from being overconfident, embarrassing yourself is what the feel is.
Yeah, so it sees the other part as fantastical and fun. This part's doing the more difficult job. It sees of protecting you from the embarrassment. It's
like this other part is my fun little pet. Is, yes, I know she's cute, but I'm the, like you said, I'm the more forceful. More serious, etc.
Yeah. And how does it feel about that, about having that role? How does it like that?
It feels just like dutiful, not necessarily excited. Sort of like the word that wants to come is something like honor bound or something to that nature. Like, it's not for fun.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, I don't do this for fun. That's what it says.
And it's concerned about embarrassment. It's concerned about being lumped in with people who don't have integrity. So more it wants to show you about just its concerns. What would happen if it didn't work so hard?
Sometimes when I put a question, I don't get necessarily a response. I just get this feeling of softening, but I don't feel like it's telling me like, oh, it's okay now or anything. It's just like, oh,
yeah, no.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of, it just feels softer at the moment, but not like it's signing off on,
on
the whole thing, like sometimes when you ask a good question, like those who are being asked the question aren't ready to like fully agree, but they're like, oh, okay. Maybe, like, I mean, when you said people who don't have integrity, there was this like correction. I said people of varying levels of integrity. So like it acknowledges that there are, shining examples and not so shining examples.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Which I would posit is true of any group of people.
Absolutely.
I always have this like, I don't ever want to feel like I'm arguing with the part, but I like allowed to, I don't know, state a opinion.
Mm-hmm. And which opinion do you feel like would be argumentative?
When it says level of, varying levels of integrity, my position is, well, isn't that true of every type of group of people, every profession, every, whatever type of category that or label that one might take on, there are going to be people of varying levels of integrity that also call themselves that, or, operate under that concept.
And you're concerned that by exploring that or making that point, that this part might feel like you're disagreeing with it.
Yeah, I think it's just like a question that I have when I do IFS is like, am I having like, am I supposed to hold back any opinion that I might have that is other than just question marks? Like, I only want to know about you. Do you also want to hear something that I think, Yeah,
that's a great question. And I don't know. We could talk about that a little if you'd like.
Okay.
Just maybe explore that a little. And it's true that, these parts are so used to having to fight for attention and being told by other parts they don't matter, or being shoved around, so that, curiosity is kind of that key to softening, to getting to know them. And there also this is building a relationship. The goal is self-leadership. So it's essential that this part gets to know you. Some parts don't know self at all. They're completely shocked.
Because when I kind of said that in there, it felt like it was like, true. I guess I'm just kind of still feeling my way through how to, come in a way that is not going to cause more friction.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just, continually checking their, I'll just use the word defensiveness, or their, if they're open to it, then it's fine to share more, or to even push back on certain points.
Okay.
Often when I think about the path of the conversation, I'm often thinking, let's spend the first half kind of in question mode, and then shifting more into kind of problem solving, or revealing alternatives, or offering alternatives, things like that. It's kind of a rule of thumb that I'm thinking often, just to make sure I don't scare anybody away too early on.
It's got a thing about a fear of being judged by others in regards to this.
Yeah. Do you want to ask it more about that?
Yeah, the follow-up statement was like, you judge others. And it's like, I kind of want to say, well, isn't that coming from you?
Okay.
Like, maybe could we do less of that, or make less assumptions, or be less dismissive of, a group versus an individual sort of thing.
Okay. I'm curious, when you first mentioned the fear of judgment by others, and you said because of this, what is this? What are we talking about?
Still talking about like, sort of coming out as wanting to be like it's like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
It's kind of the same as like what I was referring to earlier with the being in the training thing. And it's like, what are you doing here? Or I don't know. It's
okay. I just wanted to make sure I had the context right.
Okay.
So there's that conversation about, judgment of others, how much is too much, how much isn't enough, if we're not discriminating at all. Another way to go is to learn more about really what that means to this part. What's so bad about being judged by others? What's it want to show you about that and its experience of that?
I'm not getting anything yet, but I'm
okay.
waiting.
And I'm only offering that as another way to go with it. Doesn't mean, yeah, just kind of understanding more about the quality of its fear.
I just keep getting that, like, integrity is this big, like, central thing. There's just like a very strong guardiness around yeah, it has like these ideas about what other people are going to think, like,
You could ask maybe what would it feel like if that integrity wasn't there, if it didn't guard that.
there's some emotion there about like you could hurt someone or basically like lead a person astray, or in the same ways that, you were led astray, or that you were not bamboozled. I can't think of a better word, but, just like, it's this aversion to giving people any sort of false hope or exaggerated claims. I've got a big thing about like exaggerated claims. Not that I make them usually.
Yeah.
But it's just like once the extreme opposite of that. Like I often say to people, like, I'm the lowest pressure salesperson ever. I'm never going to try to convince you to do anything.
And is there a part in you that has had that experience of, having its hopes up, having those hopes, they turn out to be false?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like with this other experience that I referred to that happened like 10 years ago, it was like, we're going to like this person, knows a bunch of stuff and, it's going to guide us to some kind of wonderful thing and real.
And then when that happens, what's the pain there?
When you say when that happens, you mean when
the hope is dashed.
Like and then
yes, you've been burned, you've been bamboozled, whatever.
It's like it's the feeling of having been foolish and quote looking stupid, even though it's really like myself that I look stupid to.
Yeah.
Or not capital S self, but my committee, if you will.
Yes. Yes. The reason I'm asking so much about this specifically is I'm trying to determine if there's, an exile in there, basically, if there's a part that has felt that way before. It's been foolish, or it's done something that the committee has determined is foolish.
Yeah.
They've turned on it, they've exiled it, and they've said, okay, we're not doing that again.
Yeah. I mean, I think that experience that I've referenced a few times is one of those. It's like, it's putting anyone on any sort of pedestal. And like, I'm not saying you should never look up to someone, but
right.
Yeah, just kind of elevating another person's judgment above one's own judgment, or one's committee's judgment.
Right.
Either.
Right.
There's a few places where that applies, including that other training that I referred to.
Okay. And so do you see how this part has served to protect you from that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Great.
For sure.
Okay. So just let it know that and see if you can show it appreciation for its intention in doing that.
Can I also ask it, like, do you think I would really, behave in any way that is similar to the ways that these others have done? Is there a basis for any fear that I would do anything that is in a big way out of integrity? Like,
sure. I think you can ask that.
It's just kind of telling me, kind of reminding me of how this person kind of tried to infiltrate. I say our lives. I don't mean that as like in an IFS sense, but in the sense of the group that I was in. What it seems like now is it's not quite so rigid. It's just like, just be careful, like tread lightly. That seems to be what I'm getting now.
Okay. When this part talks about you maybe not treading lightly, does it have an age that it points to?
I don't get that message comes from like an experience where I was the person who, was being exalted or put up, in some way that wasn't warranted. It's more just pointing at these times where I was the person who was like buying into this, that, or the other, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and there are several of those, but they're all like from my adult life. I know it's not like required that it be a kid or anything.
It's not required. I would also examine if they're all from your adult life.
Mm-hmm. Where did that come from?
Well, just, I mean, you said, well, they're all from my adult life, and maybe they are. I would check that out with the part and just look for if there are younger times when the buying in.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm trying to find, you know, I'm like,
yeah,
now
am I.
Something kind of like jumped in. That's like, you know, looking through the files, you know, something was like, okay, can we make a connection here? And I'm not getting anything that feels real. You know, I'm like, well, what if it was some relationship that you were in, or did you do this, you know, with some teacher or parent but I'm not like getting anything that feels gutsy, if you know what I mean.
That's fine.
Like
Great.
or like that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's all just like me, like, you know, going off to India and being like, this person is my guru. And then doing this training thing where I was like, this person knows a lot of stuff. And most of it is that kind of stuff. I'm sure that there's something that made me go searching, you know, for those things.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that part is, you know, some kind of hurt part. But as far as it really like tying to this concept, I can't seem to find that thread.
That's fine. Yeah. There's definitely no requirement that we find a child, you know, every time. And plenty of exiled parts are adult aged. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Like when you said that, it was like, yeah, you did dumb stuff then too. Like, yeah. And just feeling so kind of like bewildered by when you're on the other side of some experience like that and you're like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Or, you know, how were you just kind of throwing your own judgment out the window sort of thing?
Yeah. So maybe that would be kind of a next part or the next part to work with or learn about after working with this part is understanding that part that wants to say yes, wants to throw the judgment out, buys in.
Yeah.
But if we're sticking with this eye rolling part, you showed it appreciation. Did it receive that?
Yeah.
Okay. You could ask it what it would rather be doing if it didn't have to work so hard in this way.
It just wants to go to the beach or something. Like, nice. I want to go on vacation. It's like, you know, some of my parts are just so smart-assy. They're just like, well, duh, I want to go relax.
That's great.
Doesn't take a rocket scientist, you know. What they're, you know, how they kind of respond to me sometimes. I'm like, all right, cool. So yeah, it's like, yeah, I'd like to go lay on a beach or something. If you could just promise not to do dumb stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Or, you know, buy into something, you know, don't go signing up for Tony Robbins or something. I've never done that, by the way. And no offense to anyone who likes that, but just, these like sort of
a lot of programs,
charisma and all this stuff.
A lot of charisma, a lot of money. There's a lot. It's a big business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this part wants you to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have any other requests of you? Anything else it would like from you going forward?
I think what I'm getting is something to the effect of, if you're going to study something, study thoroughly and well. So that you have a good foundation of knowledge and skills if you're going to go out in the world calling yourself something that we were formerly embarrassed to call ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or, threatened to be embarrassed about or something.
And are there more specifics you want to explore with the part about that? Like, do you know what it's talking about? Or is there something it's saying, especially this step, don't skip this step? Is there more to learn about what that looks like?
What I think it is, and this is a theme that's been coming up a lot lately, is that I'm not making enough space and time in my life to study well, because I'm too busy like doing my already existing jobs too much. And I need to, it's like, okay, fine, we're studying this. You need to create more space for it. That's what I'm getting.
Okay. So let's assume you create space for that. You're studying well. When this part said, promise not to do dumb stuff, promise not to jump into these things without studying well. What's your when you think about that, does that feel like that's a part that gets you to do that? Does that feel like the kind of promise you can make to this eye-rolling part?
As far as making more space and studying well, or like not getting swept up in things.
Yeah, not getting swept up.
I think it is. I do actually. I mean, I get swept up in interests, but I don't really get like, I don't get like Pied Pipered is the word I often use. I don't get Pied Pipered by people anymore. That has not occurred in a long time. And I think that this part and I have a healthy, skepticism. And I actually think that I did well choosing this training. I was very methodical, and I didn't, just jump on the first thing that I saw. I sat with it. I actually hired a coach to help me decide what direction to go with it. I do think that I can confidently say that I'm not going to get Pied Pipered by any like self-aggrandizing type of person.
Okay. Check that out with the part and see how confident it feels when you say that.
It's like, it's kind of like fair enough. And then it just like holds up into my face, you know, like a picture of me at that time that I keep referring to. It's like, don't forget that, you know, just, it seems to be acknowledging that I'm not that person anymore, but just, you know, like it's just one last stab, kind of feels like good natured ribbing, you know, like just don't forget, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll suggest that, I'll just suggest, and you can discard this if it doesn't feel right, that that is a part of you, a part that can get Pied Pipered, let's say, and that could be a way to, I don't know, maybe have even more confidence, or let this part feel more confident by saying, okay, I know that part's in me. Maybe I've got a better control over it these days, but it's happened before. It's in me. And if I treat it as a part, meet it as a part, and get to know it, that could help everybody feel even better about
the bandwagon jumper kind of part is right. Okay. I apologize. Someone knocked on my door twice while you were talking, which is very unusual. And so I got a little distracted. Sorry about that.
I was just saying, if the bandwagon part is a part, then by seeing it that way and by meeting it, you might even be able to feel more confident, or help this part feel more confident, so that you're not saying, oh, I used to be that way, now I'm not. It would be more like, I have this part, I still have this part, I'm always going to have this part, and here's my relationship with it.
Yeah.
Now versus then, and how I'm working with it.
Yeah, I feel like it's now more of like a rabbit hole jumping part than it is like a follow the Pied Piper kind of part.
Yeah.
You know, just like hyper focus basically. But it feels like that part that wanted to jump on somebody's bandwagon. Is it fair for me to say that a part could have matured beyond that? And
absolutely.
It fuels my extreme enthusiasm for things, but that it doesn't pile that up into one place, or like one person, or it seems to know now that you can't get all the answers from, you know, like one human being, or about
so that part may have matured, may have decided not to get your attention in that way, or try to grab the wheel as much.
I'll definitely agree with it, though. I mean, I'm definitely willing to spend some time, like, you know, turning that over and whatnot.
Yeah. And that could just be a 10-minute thing. I mean, that could be a simple check-in with that part. Another suggestion for future work in this constellation is, again, to really find the exile, to find the part that's driving, let's say, the jump on the bandwagon part. You know, figure out what its fear is. And to just assume that if you have protectors, they're protecting an exile. And so, even if the work we're doing here and your work with these two parts, you know, gets everybody more relaxed and more communicative, to just assume that they're driven by something, there's likely an exile in there. And that could be another way to just show and to build that confidence and authority with them, by making sure that you've kind of looked under all the rocks there and understood what's behind all of it.
Okay. I've worked with a few exiles, including with you the one time. Is it ever possible that the protectors could be just kind of still just kind of being on autopilot and
yes.
that, yeah. Okay. Cause sometimes, like the last time we worked together, it was so physical and very forceful. And I mean, that protector is actually still like, still saying, fuck them, which is fine for now. I'm like, okay. And then, the other time when we worked with the little kid, and I've done some stuff, where I've really unburdened some exiles, like with my therapist and stuff like that. And this one, it just felt like as soon as I kind of went in there and started talking to it, it was like, oh, whatever, like, okay, fine.
Right. Right.
And it didn't feel like I was like skirting around anything.
Right. Right.
I do have a part that always thinks that I'm fooling myself and that I'm avoiding something, but it's not even talking to me right now, like it's not like, whoa, you're fooling yourself again or whatever. Like, don't feel, it's just, it feels like it was just like an echo, or that the part didn't realize that there was nothing.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Okay. So that you think that's possible.
Totally. It could, and it could be just like this, it could be just the same as we were talking about the part before being, jump on the bandwagon part. Well, maybe you go investigate that part and you learn, oh, it's not really, it's chilled out.
Yeah.
And it could kind of be the same with an exile. You could go looking for the exile and say, oh, I've already kind of worked with this.
Yeah. Well, when you said something a few moments ago, and I thought there was definitely part of that was about, like wanting to find belonging. But I feel like that piece has gotten what it needed, as far as like jumping on a bandwagon piece. I don't feel like there's some like closed off, sad, hurting thing that is behind a door in this particular topic. It's just like, it almost feels as though the protector part, as soon as I went in there and, started interacting with it, was like, okay, whatever, like I told you I wouldn't go on a vacation, but it needed, like I said, it showed me that it like held out its arm with a picture like right in my face, like, don't forget about this. And it feels like it was just like, echoes or autopilot. I don't know how to better say it, but something like a reverberation of something.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned wanting to find belonging, because I will just remind you that when we first started talking with this part, the first things it was saying about its concerns were about embarrassment. And to me, that is fundamentally, that's not belonging. I mean, that's being felt like outcast, like not accepted. So
fair.
Could be, just all just hypotheses.
Quite astute. And I'm definitely not trying to say like all of my exiles are like sitting around thinking, but I can't, like, it doesn't feel strongly tied enough to the content.
Right. Yeah.
For me to like get there. If that makes sense. So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your patience when I'm just trying to be thorough and just, like I said, just kind of
Ditto.
Looking all around.
I'm all about it. If I can get there, it's just like I said, when I was in there kind of feeling for it, and almost felt like there was this frantic part, like looking through a file cabinet, like, well, but maybe it's this, maybe it's this.
Yeah.
I couldn't catch it.
Yeah.
But I will definitely, sit with just like an openness to some time of embarrassment, or, it just doesn't feel like it's directly related to this topic. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. But I appreciate the nudges and the, breadcrumbs and stuff. And I will definitely, follow them.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Is there more that you'd like to ask of either of these parts, or commitments to make, or anything, questions of me?
And just keep, and I get this from, I've gotten the same message from a lot of parts, which is just like, make more time. Just like, there are certain things I need to take. I need to take some coins out of some bank and put them in another pot, as far as time and space. That's what I get from that right now. It's like, proceed, but give time and space, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
But I definitely appreciate, as I said, the nudges and the, highlighting of some of those terms and stuff. Like I'm sure there's something there. It's not gettable through this avenue, but I needed to go down this road and like clear some brambles and whatnot.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Feel complete for now.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your patience as well. I feel like I'm one of those, like when a necklace gets tied in a knot, it's like, geez. So thanks.
No, I've really enjoyed it, and I feel like I followed everywhere you were, everything you talked about. It didn't seem too, I wasn't feeling frazzled or anything, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, hope to do it again sometime.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I'll send you a link.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.